Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Think Tank Sports. Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen. Check us out on the socials if you would so kindly. Facebook, Twitter, and the IG. We got some polls out there, I believe. And also listen to us on Anchor or wherever you get your podcasts. We're on just about all of the big number ones. And watch these two glorious bastards on YouTube, because we're out there on YouTube as well. And we're back. We had a week off there, the Super Bowl hangover, I guess, if you will. And so we're back. We're going to talk Super Bowl. We're going to talk some coaching moves and some other various things along the way. And along the way, along the ride with me is Mike. Mike, how the heck are you?
Dave, I'm doing great. I believe it's only 8 days since the Super Bowl. It feels like it was 10 years ago.
Feels like it's forever ago. Yeah.
And if you sadly, like I did, tuned into 1 second of the XFL this weekend, it feels like 100 years ago. The quality of football is down in the NFL, but Dave, it's not alive and well in the XFL spring games. I'll tell you that right now. AJ McCarron crying because he threw a shuttle pass. It was good stuff.
Was Brent Musburger there gawking at his girlfriend?
Yes.
Talking about AJ McCarron's girlfriend, of course.
Right. I forgot about that in the national championship game.
Yep. Yeah.
Horny man.
Yep.
Super Bowl, we're just gonna, talk a little bit in big, broad topics, and if we drill down, great. But we did have a couple of Twitter polls, which are also on the IG and Facebook when we put them up. And the first one, Dave, was about doing what position groups will have the biggest impact on the outcome of the Super Bowl. And we had a tie between the Eagles O-line and the Chiefs quarterback position. I gotta say, yeah, the O-line did have an impact for the Eagles, but not in a good way. They did not live up to their,
one of the greatest offensive lines of all time. Yeah, no,
right.
That did not happen. And what also did not happen was my camera getting all messed up.
Well, no, it's all messed up. That did happen. And then we talked about a few of the prop bets going in. If we do a recap of Lose With Us, we can get into that. But there was no scoregami. There was no lineman touchdown element. We almost got a fat guy touchdown. We did get... The anthem was over 2 minutes and 5 seconds, and the longest field goal was not over 46 and a half. So 3 of the 4 prop bets did not hit that we had on there. But as far as the game itself, Dave, before we get into the gameplay and stuff, I got to say, I'm a sucker for a pregame. I still watch on Sundays at noon. I tune into Fox is my choice. They seem to provide the most information with a little bit of entertainment. It's not 150 people. It's the same 4 guys, and then Glazer comes in. The pregame production had its appropriate sappy stories. But Can we just get to the game? How many countries do we live in? Just the one, right?
Just last time I checked, just the one, yes.
So we got the Black national anthem, we got the Canadian national anthem, we got the God Bless America, and then finally we get to
the U.S.
actual national anthem.
Yeah,
and I was just like, we got it. End racism. Everybody be woke. Everybody be nice to each other. Everybody don't assume things. Stay out of my bedroom. I'll stay out of yours. Got it. But can we just play football? This is football, right?
Game was supposed to start at 6:30.
The coin, right? It was like a political rally.
Yeah,
I didn't know if I was at the Libertarian National Convention or what was going on. But that being said,
well, if it makes you feel any better, yes, the NBA All-Star game last night was exactly the same thing, and arguably 100 times worse. If that's even
I'll take Jules' rendition at the NBA All-Star game in the national anthem. I've always been a big fan of her. Not hard to look at. great voice. But anyway,
But
let's
yeah,
get
that
to
was
the
that was brutally awful. Yeah. So
It
getting
was terrible.
getting to the game, you know, I heard some discussion, you know, where does this game rank as far as, you know, all-time great Super Bowls? You know, it has to make its way into the top portion of Super Bowls. What that top portion actually is, we can talk about.
You're
But
gonna have to define that a little more.
right. Well, the fact that it's a tie game with 2 minutes to go, the winning field goal is kicked with 11 seconds to go. Those things there
Yes.
help, you know, close game, help to put that, you know, where that is. You know, I'd have to make a list. It's not in the top 10, certainly, but there've been a lot of Super Bowl blowouts.
Yes, at 10:28, when I finally turned my television off, I did not think when I laid my little head on my pillow dreaming of rainbows and unicorns
And Giants Super Bowl victories.
and giant Super Bowl victories. Yes, that was one of the best Super Bowls or the best played football games I've ever seen. You know, I don't think the highest level of what happened on that field was the coaching in the second half by the Chiefs coaching staff. The adjustments they made, Spagnuolo really changed his defense and got pressure on the quarterback and took away those deep bombs and was really commendable. And the lack of adjustments on the Eagles side really surprised me, Dave. Felt like we got away with this in the first half and it didn't work in the second half. All that being said, still led to a tie game, you know, as time is running out. As far as the scope of what the game was, I agree, probably in the top 20 quarter.
Yeah, probably top 20. Yeah.
Yeah. Because of the circumstances, but not great, quality wise, I would say. And Mahomes doing the same thing he did in the championship game with the run at the end to set up the game winning field goal. It was so obvious afterwards, but in the time he hadn't done it all game. The patience that he must have had to hold back and not run out of the pocket all game, knowing he might need that at the end is phenomenal. It's incredible. It's what superstars are made of. So I give him a lot of credit.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think, you know, the challenge from an Eagles defense perspective, and let's just be honest, the Eagles defense did not show up in this game at all.
No. Where's their pass rush?
Right. No pass rush, 70 sacks during the year. You know, and some kudos to the Chiefs offensive line. There's no doubts there.
Sure.
But their defense didn't show up. And on top of not showing up is they probably last on their list. If I had to guess, just based on his injury, was Patrick Mahomes with a big run, because that last run, there's nobody there, right? There's nobody there. And that's just because that's, you know, I think that's how the Eagles defense, even if they had played well, I think they would have given up a run like that in the game. But they also just did not play well. It's really,
they can give that up, you know, third and long in the beginning of the fourth quarter. In that situation, when you just saw it the week before, again, in the moment, I didn't say, and I don't know if you did where you were, watch out for the draw. I didn't say that out loud or think it, but I don't get paid the kind of money that those defensive coaches do.
No? Think Tank Sports is not pulling in the big bucks for you?
I'll give you the virtual tour of the house later. It's called the Walk of Shame. Okay.
Okay. Very good. Very good.
No, they got to be aware of that. He just did it. He just did it the week before, you know, to the same results. So a little help with the late hit the week before, or 2 weeks before, I guess.
Yep. Last game.
But the game before. Right. So other than that, you know, there's a lot of blame on the mediocre punt. And sure, that was a factor that didn't get very high, and coverage couldn't get all the way engaged, but you got to make a play. It's the Super Bowl. You know, go down and make a tackle. I felt in my mind's eye, maybe I'm wrong, Dave, correct me. It was on one of the hash marks, so it wasn't like he had the whole field.
Yes,
feel
I
like it
believe it's
was
the
on
right side
the
hash mark.
far hash mark as you're looking at the TV, left to right.
Yeah,
For
it was
this
definitely on
one,
one
yeah,
of the
yeah.
hash marks,
Right.
for
So it
sure.
was a
But
little bit of an angle, he was, I don't know. I just feel like that's a cop out. And probably now most players would tell you that. And I'm sure the punter would tell you he's got to do a better job. But
sure,
that
oh, of
wasn't what
course.
lost it. What about the holding penalty? The controversial. First of all, Juju Smith-Schuster had a heck of a game for someone that we really didn't hear from much all season.
Yeah.
Good for him. But what did you think on that holding call?
No, I
You
don't.
didn't
I
see
don't.
it.
No, I saw it. I don't think you call it. I don't think it's enough. I don't think the receiver was impeded in any way. And I don't care, that Bradbury came out and said, "Oh yeah, it was a hold." He's playing the good soldier role,
Mhm.
and not going at the officials. I don't think it's there. I don't think you can. It's tough. It wasn't egregious enough to me. I remember watching the play and seeing the pass going way out of the end zone to the side and thinking, well, what the
Yeah.
heck was that? You know? And then the flag comes out. Like I just didn't see it. And sure you see the replay and Juju makes a move and then goes this way. I don't think he was impeded. I don't think you can call that. Well, I ultimately, I just don't think it was enough of a penalty. To be called. The other piece, no pass interference defensive holding calls the entire game. So, and you saw that early on. You could tell they were letting them play. There were some balls that went up, and that the defenders and the receivers are going up and battling for it, and the officials aren't calling it. I don't think there was anything that they should have called, but it was a clear indication early on that they were not calling those things. So you can't call the game that way and then change it up that late. That's not fair
Right.
to the defenders. Do you want to say, well, the Chiefs look at it and drew up a double move for Juju, anticipating that they might get a penalty? Okay, you can say that. The Chiefs, offensive staff did a great job in the second half and a lot of
Sure.
changes and all that. You can say all of those things, but I still don't think that that's fair on the defensive end. We've seen so many games, where you'll see the players say, well, they called it this way. And I just think it's a terrible way. Now, all of that being said, does it impact the game? I mean, I think on some levels it does, because 3rd and 8, right? The Chiefs are going to kick a field goal. Let's just envision that it's going to go in, because they were still pretty close. But the Eagles get the ball back with like 1:40 to go. With,
And
I
Hurts has
think
his
at that
opportunity, right?
point, I think they still had one timeout left.
I think you're right.
They weren't out of timeouts, because I remember they called another one after the Chiefs moved down there. So they've got one timeout left. You've got Jalen Hurts, like you said, Mike, that just took them down the field, the possession before that. You have to, it's like the Bengals against the Chiefs. You have to like their chances. And that could have set up a really dynamic ending. Whereas in this game, I really thought it was anticlimactic after that, because the Chiefs are just, kneeling and running up the middle. And it just, as a Chiefs fan, I guess you're excited. And I'll be done with my soliloquy here in a
No, it's
second.
fine. Go, buddy. Go off, King.
It just was so anticlimactic at the end. Despite the fact that it's, a tie game and they kick a field goal, it was just like, I mean, they did the right things, the Chiefs, but it just didn't have the drama at the end there.
That's fair. All the way back to when you started, I think the most important thing you just said was that they didn't call it all game, and then they decided in that play to call it. If you remember back in the day when the Colts and the Patriots went at it in an AFC title game, and the refs really let the Colts beat up the Patriots receivers.
Mm-hmm.
And they established that at the beginning of the game, and they called it consistently all game. This was not the case because they let him play, like you said, and then to call that at that moment, I think was wrong. I think any other time that's probably a penalty, and I'm okay living in a world where situational ethics apply like that, where it's the potentially winning driver of the Super Bowl. You're going to give them a little more leeway without, like you said, didn't impede his path, didn't slow him down. So
and the pass wasn't catchable.
Besides that,
Yeah.
Kelsey with another virtuoso performance, not blowing up the box score necessarily. 6 for 6 on targets and receptions, 81 yards and the touchdown, but seemed like those 6 catches were huge. Every single one of them seemed very vitally important too.
Yep. And again, wide open almost every time. Like going back to the Eagles defense not showing up. I mean,
speaking of wide open,
you can't tell me that was their defensive plan to leave Travis Kelce wide open over and over and
Kadarius Toney on that touchdown. I mean, that was just beyond ridiculous. So the Kansas City offense is what it is, and the Eagles defense isn't. And that being said, Kansas City still only won by 3. So quite interesting. Anything else around the game, Dave, or anything, key points? Did you watch the halftime show at all?
I did watch the halftime show. Very interesting.
You have teenage children and a young lady,
young daughter. Yep. They watched it.
Give me some thoughts.
I'll just say this, and you draw your own conclusions. I saw a meme after the fact that was here's what the halftime rehearsal looked like. And the camera came in and it was a bunch of marshmallows on the ground, like the small little marshmallows, and then like a little plastic thing with a red marshmallow on top of it. As far as that goes, I don't think it was, I don't think it was awful. It was different. Things about the game. Jalen Hurts is for real. Okay. I thought he played a tremendous game. The running, the passing, we had said, and a lot of people said, we want to see, what he could do. Look, his team was down. He drove them right down the field and tied the game. 300 yards passing and a touchdown, 70 yards rushing and 3 touchdowns. I like what he's done and put himself forward as far as that goes. I thought he played very well in the game.
Yeah, he did. Still, that being said, as a Giant fan, if he's their quarterback for the next 10 years, I'm okay with that. He's got a lot of Dak vibes to me. Can make some good throws, has some superior talent at the wide receiver position and tight end, and great offensive line. And so, if you put probably 10 different quarterbacks back there, they would look as good, in my opinion. It's still early in his career. We saw the leaps that, Josh Allen and Daniel Jones and all these guys made, as they get into 4th or 5th year. So we need to reserve judgment. But I agree. I'll give him credit where it's due. Played a nice game, didn't make any mistakes, was a threat offensively. So
almost 400 yards on the biggest stage in the biggest game. Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't walk away go, boy, that Jalen Hurts. Well, I didn't walk away saying what you said, that he's for real.
Yeah.
He's closer for real. So let me ask you this, Mr. For real.
For real.
Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts' future? Which would you like? From this moment
on, I would take Jalen Hurts. Absolutely. He's a better passer than Lamar Jackson. Now, again, your point was well taken. Oh, I'm allowed to say it. Well, you could say it. But he has superior talent at the wide receiver spot, which, Jackson clearly does not and never has. Despite all of that, I think Jalen Hurts throws a better ball, just has better touch. So I would, I would take Jalen Hurts at this point. he had the fumble, obviously, and nobody touched him. The ball, bounced off his leg. They return it for a touchdown. Those things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Occasionally. It's not great, obviously, and you don't want it to happen in the Super Bowl. But beyond that, I thought he was great. And
Yeah, it's not like he has fumbleitis or anything. There was
yeah,
just these are big dudes with a lot of force coming in one spot. So I don't
yep,
care how strong or what position the ball's in, sometimes it comes out.
yep.
I agree. Anybody else? We talked about Kadarius Toney, Gainwell, Miles Sanders. What a waste of talent on that roster, right? I mean, it reminds me of Todd Gurley. Like, had all this promise, had a couple of nice seasons, and then just fell off the face of the earth. And I know running backs do that. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong.
Yes, they do.
We're seeing even in Dallas with Tony Pollard, who is a very productive running back, and they're not going to re-sign him just because he's a running back. Of course, I guess I wouldn't hold Dallas's front office as a shining example.
The model
of anything,
example,
but,
yeah.
But still, I just he was lost in this game and stayed that way.
Yeah,
and I
I
thought
was.
AJ Brown disappeared too. I
Yeah,
thought he had a nice start and just disappeared. And I don't know if that's because they took him away or he disappeared.
I mean, 6 catches, 96 yards, and a touchdown on 8 targets. I mean, I don't think he necessarily.
But that's all early, I think. I don't
Yeah.
have the breakdown from.
Yeah, no, he was very early. He
Yeah.
was over 80 yards in the first half.
Right. So
I had one of my one parlay had him plus
75 or
plus 8, yeah, plus 80 yards, and he was just under that, and then got a catch early in the second half to get over 80. But yeah, second half he didn't do much of anything. Again, goes back to the adjustments by the Chiefs. I agree with you, Miles Sanders. I actually thought he was hurt at one point because he wasn't even out there.
Right.
As far as that goes. Yeah.
Did you know the Kelce's are brothers? Did you hear any reporting on that? Has it been on social media at all?
That completely surprised me, Mike. I never had heard that before.
Great. Do you want to talk? Let's talk some free agents or drafts or quarterbacks.
Whatever, wherever you want to go.
Well, let's talk about some quarterbacks. And since we already talked about Lamar Jackson, what's going to happen with Lamar Jackson? What do you think?
Wow, I feel like during at the end of the season, we were kind of speculating like where might he go?
Right.
I mean, I think we threw the Texans out there, but then said, he might not want to go to a losing team. What about the Raiders?
Yeah.
I mean, I could see the Raiders as another possibility.
It's all a domino, like you said.
Saints.
Boy, that I could see. It all depends on who they get, to be their head coach. They're still looking, right?
The Saints.
Yeah, or do they sticking with Dennis Allen?
I think they're staying with Dennis Allen.
Sticking with Dennis, okay.
Yeah, they did confirm that he's staying. So, I guess those would be my picks there.
Right.
The Saints, the Raiders, the Texans.
Actually, I figured it out already.
Or obviously the Ravens, but
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Oh,
I could see that for sure.
Yeah,
that'd be a good spot for him, actually. I think with some nice receiver talent, solid defense,
yeah,
veteran line. So maybe.
Could see that. Could see that
so
too.
Instead of going through all these players, so we know we got Derek Carr and Garoppolo. Apparently, Daniel Jones is making some noise about free agency.
Yeah, switching
Which
agents.
domino is going to go first? And it could be as much as Aaron Rodgers getting traded on draft day. I mean, one domino's got to fall first before all these others pile in at quarterback. I'm talking only.
Yeah, I would go. It's got to be either Lamar Jackson or Carr. I think. I I don't know. I'm not sold with Aaron Rodgers and his
Because you're back in
making
Green Bay.
early decisions.
Right, good call. Good
So
call.
I feel like that, those two, it seems like Carr has been the most that's been in the news the most. So perhaps him. But I think it's between Carr and Jackson. And then everything else kind of folds from there.
Okay.
And those could be pre-draft.
Right. Right. No, I agree. If you go into the draft and you need a quarterback and you're in the bottom half, I mean, I think this quarterback class is not great at all.
Yeah.
I like Will Levis's size a little bit. I don't think Stroud or the other kid,
Bryce Young,
they just are not NFL quarterbacks to me. They're not big enough. Their arm strength isn't big enough. I just don't see it.
I think that's fair. So if you look at, if
So
we
you're
just
going to
say,
see
let's say
Will
Raiders,
Levis, okay.
Saints, Buccaneers,
right?
those are
Jets. Who's the Jets?
right. But you could argue those three teams kind of on the fringe. I could see one of those teams making an early move for one of those quarterbacks.
Right. And the Bears are going with Fields, so they're going to trade out.
So those teams aren't going to go in the draft for a quarterback.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
fair.
Potentially.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Buffalo Bills, most agree are in need of a running back upgrade. Here's some free agent running backs. Pick one. This one you can't have. Saquon. Josh Jacobs, David Montgomery, Tony Pollard.
I really like Josh Jacobs.
A lot of miles.
Yeah. I mean, they all have a lot of miles on them.
Oh
yeah. But
Saquon's
and
Josh injury pro,
right? But Josh Jacobs has been hurt a lot too.
Montgomery's not always healthy.
No, Montgomery's been hurt. I mean, they're all running backs. They're all going to be hurt.
That's why I asked.
Yeah, I would go Josh Jacobs, I think.
Okay.
As far as running back. So I don't think that's going to be the top priority for the Bills. I think it's going to be offensive line depth and depth at the wide receiver position.
Another quarterback you're going to hear shoot up the draft boards is Anthony Richardson out of Florida. Just keep an eye on that. I think he's going to be a workout warrior and be a bust. But you're going to hear a lot of Deshaun Watson minus the off-field issues about him.
Wait, Deshaun Watson has off the field issues?
Oh yeah, I don't know if you were aware, but the piece of trash organization that has it now was fully aware.
Oh yeah.
Is Odell Beckham Jr. done playing football? Was it that short? Was it that burn out like a rocket and gone? I mean, I wanted more. As a Giant fan, I'm glad he left if this was it.
Yeah.
He got a Super Bowl with the Rams.
Yep, and got out.
How many times has he blown out his knee? Is he done, or is he going to sign somewhere?
I really thought he was going to pop up somewhere and help one of these teams in the last 5-6 games, and he didn't. So
healthy.
The rumors was the health, right, with Dallas and the failed physical and all that. I don't know. I don't know if he's ready to come back and do a full season. I wouldn't be surprised to see him out there, but I also wouldn't be surprised to see him fade off into the sunset.
Okay. DK Metcalf, did you catch him in the celebrity basketball and the NBA All-Star Weekend festivities?
I did not see him. What happened?
This guy is just frighteningly athletic. We already knew that. And there's a lot of social media video of him jumping up over a wall at the Pro Bowl festivities, and his entire shoulders, everything's above this wall. It's impressive. But in the basketball, Dave, I mean, he would block a shot, get the rebound behind his back, between his legs, 3 strides, and tomahawk dunk. I mean, it was Sean Kemp in his prime. It looked like out there. It was impressive for sure. His athleticism. Now, oddly enough, he had a tough time catching the ball. Of the 5 minutes I watched, there was at least 3 bounce passes right to him that he, lobster crawled and it went out of bounds. So just a incredible athlete, DK Metcalf.
Yeah, was Dick Vitale playing defense on him?
No, Dickie V was not playing defense.
Okay,
Just
just
a
curious.
long time since Dickie V.
Ooh, just curious, because those celebrity games, not a lot of defense there. Just saying.
A lot of defense.
There wasn't defense in the All-Star game either, but
No.
that's a whole.
Do you have a coach's tracker there? Do you want to run?
I do. I have a little bit. Yeah. Yeah. So, the Carolina Panthers went out and got Frank Reich.
Yeah.
The
great
first
for that organization.
Yeah, the first offensive coach that they've hired, offensive focused head coach that they've hired in their history.
Akin to Peterson to Jacksonville to me from last year.
Yep. The Eagles coordinators got purged. So Jonathan Gannon, the defensive coordinator from the Eagles, goes to Arizona.
Perfect. Good. You wouldn't want to be.
I don't know about this. I mean, the defensive coordinators, they have to get, as head coaches, have to get big time offensive coordinators, because they can't. They're just not focused on the offense. So if they don't have a good offensive coordinator in Arizona, I think that's going to be problematic.
Yes.
Denver, Mike, wins the Peyton.
Sean Payton.
The Sean Payton Award, the Sean Payton courtship, sweepstakes, whatever you want to call it. I think that's good for Denver. Happy,
Did you see who he's interviewing for defensive coordinator, buddy?
I believe is our boy Rex Ryan, is it not?
It is. Chicken wings and donuts are about to be back in style in Denver, Colorado, folks. Hide the women and the light beers, because Rex will probably bring his brother Rob, and the two of them, at a mile high on a regular basis.
Yeah. Would they eat as many donuts as Charles Barkley, though? That would be the question. Charles Barkley's birthday, they gave him a big thing of donuts, and oh my God, hilarious.
Yeah.
Let's see. Houston goes after and gets DeMeco Ryans, the defensive coordinator from the 49ers.
Longtime Houston Texan. You think of him as a 49er, and he coached there.
Right, but as a player, yes.
Right. Longtime Houston Texan.
So same thing. You got to have a good offensive coordinator. I'm not convinced there. And the Colts get Shane Steichen. Steichen. The Eagles offensive coordinator. So, good for the Colts. They keep kind of an offensive guy. Frank Reich was there. We can't really talk about Jeff Saturday. He was there. Stopgap, fill in.
Yeah.
As far as that
goes.
It's
like when Jim Fossil's son, John, who's the coach of the Dallas special teams. He coached the last 3 games of Jeff Fisher's Cardinals season with Rams season. With Jared Goff as a rookie. And it was just, don't count that against him. He's a good guy.
Yeah. I think the other big move, Mike, is Eric Bieniemy finally getting an actual offensive coordinator position. He goes to the Washington Commanders. So folks, we are going to finally see what Eric Bieniemy is made of. I have my thoughts in that.
The NFL's already told us.
Right. But if you look at the Super Bowl and you watch how many times they showed Eric Bieniemy, it was like once.
Right.
And every time there was a big play call, they show Andy Reid with the play card. So he's got to get out of Andy Reid's shadow. We know that. Everybody's saying the right things, right? Oh, it's a big shadow. But Eric Bieniemy's a big guy.
Big red shadow. No, I think Dave, everyone wanted to put the race issue there, and it wasn't. It was just he cannot be a head coach. He must have been a dud in the room when it came to an interview, because they're racing. They gave Shane Sterkton a freaking job. Anybody that's an offensive had 2 synapses fire and their brain cells collided once, and they drew a draw play. You're hired. Okay. So Eric Bieniemy with an NFL pedigree and all this. I mean, great. Look at his history and his story.
Sure.
Walk on, at Colorado and all of that.
Mhm. As
Clearly
Chris
the
Berman
NFL's
used to call him, Eric sleeping with the enemy.
beautiful. Clearly, the NFL's told us you can't be a head coach.
Yeah.
And now the public's going to find that out, and it's going to shame him. And this is the ugly side of the Rooney Rule, in my opinion. But let's not. Maybe he goes to Washington and he lights the world on fire. And Dan Snyder says, "Wait, I'm not selling the team anymore to Jay-Z," and all that. So.
But let's be honest, and this is kind of coming up on a make or break, I think, year for Ron Rivera. And if he doesn't do well, you could see Eric Bieniemy getting the head coaching job there.
Absolutely, because they gutted everyone outside of Rivera's crew. He's the only one left, really.
So
Jack Del Rio, all those guys are gone, and so maybe Bieniemy rides Sam Hull's short, fat right arm to the Hall of Fame, but I doubt it.
Yeah, you never know, but he might get the head coaching job in Washington at least.
Yeah, sure, good for him. Real 2 seconds, Dave, on the Buffalo Bills. They doing anything we need to know about right now, or anything in the news?
No, nothing.
Apparently, your boy, line
Damar Hamlin.
Damar Hamlin is alive and is real, since he was sitting at the Super Bowl with Roger Goodell and the Kelsey's mother.
Oh, and he was at the Syracuse Duke game on Saturday.
Oh, I did see that.
And I actually was at an establishment across the street from an establishment that he was in, and I saw him come out of said establishment. A
real life spotting, folks.
A real life spotting of Damar Hamlin. So yes, he definitely was there.
Apparently Syracuse has this booster that's pretty rich.
Yes,
Adam
Weitzman. He's a scrap metal. Yes. Right. So
and he brings these guys up for games.
He does. So very, very short. And of course, my video just goes poopy right there. The funny part about all of this is, so Adam Weitzman, he's a millionaire. He in the scrap metal business. And so I see him come out of the establishment.
Your establishment?
No, not mine. The one he was in across the street. And I see him come out, and my video just does not want to be cooperating with me. And
finish us up on this great Adam Weitzman story.
Yep. So he comes out, and there's security and all this other stuff. And I see, there's Damar Hamlin. Weitzman comes right out and walks up to this big red pickup truck that's right in front of the establishment and gets into the driver's seat. And I'm thinking, this guy's a millionaire. And Damar Hamlin gets into the passenger seat.
Sweet.
He's not in a limo. He's not in any of this. Mike, it's still winter in central New York. The truck is filthy.
Oh.
And all
and salt and mud
salt and dirt. And we're saying you're bringing Damar Hamlin, you're going to drive him around, and you're a millionaire. One, can't you clean the car or get somebody to clean the truck?
Right.
It was just one of the, it was a real head scratcher when you think about the amount of money that goes into all of these things. And here is right.
I wouldn't even think of that problem.
Yeah. It just was like, really? Cause like I got my car washed on Saturday and I'm not driving Damar Hamlin around.
Dave. Yeah, we know about it.
Oh, my video just doesn't like me anymore. So you get my wonderful photo mosaic.
So I'll wrap it up then, Dave. Really good NFL season, fun Super Bowl. We may or may not do a wrap-up show for Lose With Us. In the meantime, check us out. Continue to follow us for NBA content. Pitchers and catchers have reported for baseball. College basketball's in full swing. I'm watching a ton of that right now, Dave. So
I can tell.
Ready. Yeah. As we move forward here at Think Tank Sports, we'll continue to put up polls and videos and all that stuff, and watch us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook as we strive for 5 here at Think Tank Sports, where we think and you listen.